Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Thursday the 26th of October. A nice day it is too, 13.5 degrees. And on this day, on the 26th of October 1859, the 236 foot 3-mast steam clipper, the Royal Charter, ran aground off Anglesey in a force 12 gale, which reached wind speeds over 100 miles an hour, and a storm that wrecked 133 ships and badly damaged a further 90, with the loss of over 800 lives, 459 from the Royal Charter itself, including all women and children on board. Now, there was only 40 survivors in a ship that could carry up to 600 passengers. Now, the Royal Charter was a fast ship and was involved in the transportation of gold from Australia back to the UK, and could do a journey in less than 2 months, in around 60 days. And after stopping off at Cove, it unfortunately was wrecked off Anglesey, and at the time it was carrying gold worth £332,000, or the equivalent of 2,500 kilos worth of gold. Now, between 1855 and 1860, 7,400 ships were lost. With the invention of the telegraph, it was possible to send electric messages, with the fledgling Met Office being set up by Vice Admiral Robert Fitzroy, who was previously, in 1854, who was previously the captain of the Beagle, which was a ship that brought Charles Darwin on his 5-year voyage of discovery. And after that, he was governor of New Zealand. But the outcry of this disaster ended up with the setting up of the shipping forecast and the first printing of the shipping forecast was in the Times newspaper in August 1861. Interestingly, one of the people that came to Anglesey to do a report on the sinking of the Royal Charter was the writer Charles Darwin, who spent over a month there. So accurate temperature records only began within the last 160 years, with the US beginning its own temperature records in around the 1880s, and the first temperature record in Ireland was in 1886. So to say that since records began is absolute nonsense. Now, to just give you a bit of an idea where we are, this is called Clora Road here, and comes down from the Whitechurch area, and this is one of my favourite roads here. I thought you might like the beauty of the greenery of this time of year, the changing of the colours of the leaves. But however, in regarding to temperature, ice core samples from Greenland have temperatures that measure back over 10,000 years, and they've been able to test for CO2 levels and temperature, and both CO2 levels and temperature have been much greater than they are now, and sometimes temperatures of up to 3 degrees warmer. And also in Antarctica, they have ice core samples dating back 400,000 years, which can prove the similar patterns regarding. Now, in 1942, just a little bit of history regarding one of my, I think it's a very interesting story regarding a flight of aircraft, with 6 aircraft, 2 B-17s and 6 P-38 Lightnings in July 1942, got lost and had to crash land their planes on a glacier. So during the 1990s, thankfully all 25 people survived, but during the 1990s a decision was made to see if they could locate the aircraft. Now, when they did find the aircraft, a decision was made to take up one of them and see if they could actually get it serviceable and fly it in the air show circuits, which they actually do now. And the plane is called Glacier Girl. But when they found the plane, it was 300 feet underneath the ice and 3 miles down from where it had been, where they had actually crash landed. So it just goes to show the speed and volume of which ice can actually move. Now, interestingly, on the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Royal Charter, there was another ship which actually ran aground a half a mile from the same spot. What a coincidence. And that was a 500-ton steamer that had a crew of 8 and were rescued by a coxswain by the name of Dick Evans, who saved all 8 members of the crew. And interestingly, at one stage the ship was so far leaning over that its propeller came very close to striking the lifeboat. Now, during the week there was a Green Party meeting in Merrion Square, and I happened to come along to the meeting to listen to what they were going to say. And Eamon Ryan was there, and a councillor, I have to say, who gave a very good presentation. But the only thing that I have to say that I thought was interesting was the fact that they did comment on food security. But one of the more interesting aspects of this is the horrendous thought of the idea of putting windmills the size of the Eiffel Tower up and down the Irish Sea to generate renewable energy. But afterwards I spoke to the councillor in question, and I brought a graph with me, and this graph was an historical record of CO2 levels in the history of the ages of the Earth. Now, in the Cambrian period, CO2 levels reached over 6,000 parts per million, and in the Jurassic period it was 2,000 parts per million. So we are at the moment now, his CO2 levels are at an historic low level. So I compiled an email to the councillor with some videos, including Ivor Cummins' interesting video about the ice core samples, and also a story about David Bellamy and what happened to him when he was asked what do you think of climate change, and he described it as poppycock, and unfortunately his career went downhill after that. But I also brought up I wanted Mr. Ryan to confirm that is Ireland taking part in the C40 Cities project, which he confirmed that we are. Now, the C40 Cities project is being run by Arup, which is a consultancy firm with 3 offices in Ireland employing 570 people. They have branches in 60 countries employing 17,000 people with projects in 160 countries. They have pushed 300 million into this net zero project, and in it by 2030 it recommends that people will only have a meat allowance of 16 kilos, a dairy allowance of 90 kilos. People will be allowed 1 flight every 2 years, and a clothing allowance of, I think, 3 items per year. So this is the kind of nonsense that these headbangers will be trying to push, and it's been done through the office of Lord Mayor, which seems to be sidestepping the democratic process. But I'm just coming up here now. This road, I think, if any of you have a set of lungs and like to cycle, is the road that comes up to the pine forest. But it's a lovely road, and you can see there with the change in the colours of the trees, you know. And but that was all. So I just thought it was interesting, and I sent the young councillor an email, and I'm still waiting a response for that. But interestingly, there was a chap outside when I was leaving, and he was handing out free newspapers, copies of the Irish Light, and when one of the members of the people left, her comment was to him, no thanks, I'm gay. Whatever's that got to do with the Irish Light. But there you go. Well, there are a couple of comments which are my own. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon, good luck, and God bless. I used to cycle all around this area when I had a set of lungs. I'll just turn left up here and take you up towards the pine forest, and if you continue on it will lead up towards past O'Connell's Rock, and eventually up to Glencullen. So good afternoon, good luck, and God bless.